Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Make it an amazing day. Make it. It's your choice. It's your decision. What kind of day you're going to have. Let's go down memory lane. I hope you're fortunate enough now, wherever you're at I'll be on this earth 66 years next month, okay? 66 winters. And I know a little bit about my ancestors. Well, I knew a little bit, and now I know more because I did some investigating. Research. No. I didn't get on one of those sites and give DNA. No. I researched my ancestors through paperwork, newspaper articles, ledgers from stores, the manifest of boats, the family crest, census records, birth certificates, death certificates, marriage certificates. I found out who my ancestors were beyond those that I knew were alive, that I met when I was growing up. And out of my 4 grandparents, I only met one. My grandmother on my mom's side, who married into that Scandinavian family, the Vikings. And I traced their bloodlines. That's all intermixed with tribes from Magna Germania. Tribes, clans, groups, from Magna Germania. Then I went back a little bit further. Because my ancestors didn't stop there, neither did yours. So you have modern man, right? Who are your ancestors before modern man? Cro-Magnon? Neanderthal? Did you do the research? Do you know who your ancestors are? Doesn't mean anything to you at all. Why, Johan, are you so passionate about it? You've heard the stories, all right? From centuries ago, millennia ago, common era after death. We're into 2024. You know, 2,000 years plus, right? Into this new era. So there's a lot written down. There's a lot of literature. There's a lot of paperwork that religions and the government didn't destroy that are still available to find out who your ancestors are. I told you how I traced mine. So, they would be my great-grandmother. That clan tribe left Scandinavia and wound up in Northumbria around 1000 Common Era. I didn't know anything about the Vikings. They're farmers first and foremost. Farmers. All right? Try to put the nonsense aside for a minute. Okay? Try to put the nonsense aside for a minute. Because you're not looking at your ancestors. I'll just leave it at the proper way. You're not looking at your ancestors in the proper way. What does that mean, Johan? Most people today, through whatever, these DNA places or doing a little research, have a good idea what their ancestors were like, where they came from, you know. So-and-so married who, so-and-so married so-and-so, they had 14 kids, you know, the minimal stuff. Most people know. Or they took that blood work and think they know. And then they just, most people just stop like, oh, 2, 3 generations, I lose interest, you know, 3, 4 generations. I didn't lose interest. I didn't lose interest, and I'm going to tell you why. At some point, while I was researching my ancestors, I realized that there is more to this than meets the eyes, real eyes. I started to look at it through real eyes. My ancestry doesn't end in England. My ancestry doesn't end in Scandinavia. My ancestry doesn't end in that area which is now known as Germany. They go way back. Right? Maybe you're still not interested. You know, a couple of generations back, I'm good, Johan. I don't need to know anymore. Is that right? Is that right? Where's your honor? Where's your loyalty? Where's your dignity? Why are you so upset, Johan? Will you tell us, please? Oh, yes, I will. Go back as far back as you could go. As far back as you can go searching your ancestors. This has less to do with did they come from here or did they come from there, or were they dropped off by spaceships, or was it Adam and Eve in the garden? There's more to it than that. Let's talk about briefly all the different types of humans that have come and gone. We're modern man. I think it was Neanderthal before us, Cro-Magnon before. When you get into this, it's very interesting. Oh, that type of human lived where my ancestors came from. I'm mixed with that too. Great stuff, great stuff. And at some point, I don't know, I want to say 30,000 years ago, 20,000 years ago, due to the Earth climate, the Earth Earth seasons, cold came down from way up north over Europe. Froze. And tribes had to move. Clans had to move. Families had to move. If they didn't, they were dead. The family was dead. And guess what? You wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't be here if those Neanderthals were slackers, or Cro-Magnon, for that matter, or all the different types of humans that lived before them. If it weren't for them, you would not be here. Do you understand this? Do you understand 50,000 years ago, a human male and a human female, maybe not from the same tribe, okay, became responsible for you. Great, 1,000 times great, whatever they were, grandparents, okay? Had children, took care of them, taught them how to take care of themselves, and so on and so on and so on, not just for generations, but even as the popular humans at that time disappeared. There's still a connection. They disappeared and another type of human rose up. Did you hear what I said? They all but disappeared. A certain generation of our ancestors. And then somewhere, and when you get into this stuff, scientists are still baffled how that humanoid from way over there, their DNA's with this humanoid all the way over here. As far as we know, they never met. But they're connected. You follow me? A lot of history has been destroyed. Do I have to get into why it was destroyed? Really? Do I have to? A lot about our ancestors has been destroyed. Not all. And then, luckily enough for whoever your ancestors were and my ancestors were, back then, up until, I'll just say recent times, like last 1,000 years, their way of life was passed on through storytellers. The only one I was able to speak to really was my grandmother until she died. I had names and faces from pictures, a couple generations back. But I owe a debt to these people, even my grandmother's family, okay? My grandmother raised me. She was born in 1909 and grew up during the Depression in the 20s, okay? There was like 14 kids in that family. Mother, father, 14 kids. 4 bedrooms in the house. Okay? Maybe they went to 4th grade. That was the highest education they had. The men went to work in the coal mines. The women went to work in the garment factories. Then the Depression hit. That's just a microcosm of experiences of our ancestors. Do you get it? They did what they had to do. That group I just talked about, my grandmother's family, 4th grade education, they were either after that working in the mines, coal mines, or in garment buildings. And my grandmother used to tell me horrific stories about little girls working in those garment factories and their rich employers from New York. And I know the whole story about the coal mining. That history. And the Marley Maguires. Your ancestors fought for you. They didn't know you. You didn't really know them. You might say, I have no idea what my great-great-great-grandfather looked like. Are you sure? Are you sure about that? Look in the mirror. Great-great-great-grandmother, great-great-great-grandfather, all those people, you're wearing them. You are them. Who told you that you weren't? What happened that divided families? They say it was communism that divided families, and socialism, and the welfare state, all these things. No. Families were being divided thousands of years before that. You mean it wasn't Democrats or Republicans, Johann? No, it wasn't. They were just the kids on the block at the time. But families were divided a long time ago. When certain institutions started to hold sway over masses of people suffering. Suffering in cotton fields, suffering in coal mines, suffering in garment factories. And there were groups, I'll be nice about it, there were groups and institutions that came in and took advantage of those people that were suffering. And what I mean by that is, then they started to split them into groups. Well, our group is better than your group. Our book is different than your book. You only meet once a week, we meet 3 times. Look at the clothes you're wearing. You get it? Those people fought for us. For us. For us. They weren't like enemies since forever. Until somebody found a way to divide human beings with propaganda. I'll end with this. This is why I appreciate my ancestors. They fought hard. They did not let anything get in the way of family. Not a job, not a coal company, not a garment manufacturer, not even a cross. They didn't have much, but what they had, they appreciated. They had each other. They knew the suffering of their neighbors in the next town over, the next county over. The next holler beyond that mountain. You must know who your ancestors are. You must. You must. They went out of their way so you could be here. They did. On Mother's Day or Father's Day, you should thank your mother or father if, you still speak to each other. But there's no such thing as Ancestor Day. There's Mother's Day, Father's Day, Grandparents' Day, not Grandkids' Day. Who cares? That's all money-making schemes. But your ancestors fought hard for you. And before this division came in, for the most part, because there wasn't even common languages 20, 30, 40,000 years ago. Read how those tribes met each other and what happened. They weren't like people today. They would throw a relative under the bus in a minute. So, put your name into Google and put family crest. Start there. Put your name into Google and family crest. Or your family name in such and such a town or a city. Look at census records. Get a couple birth certificates and death certificates and marriage certificates. There's a lot of information there. Those people did everything they could so you could be here now. Me as well. Don't forget them. Don't forget them.